What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Better Days Films. It's your boy Z, and I'm back with another movie review. A few days ago, I dropped two movie reviews. I went to see John Wick Chapter 4, and I also did a review on a movie called The Dark and the Wicked. I seen it on the Shudder horror movie streaming app. So both of those reviews links for both of those reviews will be in the description of this one if anybody want to check those out. For John Wick, I went into some spoilers, but I really didn't give a lot away because I want everybody to experience this movie for themselves. So once again, both of those links will be in the video, will be in the description of this video if anybody wants to check it out. But now we are here to talk about and review the movie Hitch. Now, Hitch came out February 11th, 2005. Their budget was 55 to 70 million. Their box office was 371.6 million. It is starring Will Smith, Eva Mendes, Kevin James, and Amber Valletta. Now, this Hitch is actually one of my top favorite Will Smith movies. Like, I could watch this. It's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite of Will Smith movie of all time, but it's pretty up there. I love this movie. I could watch this movie over and over and over and over again and feel like I've watched it for the first time. I just think that it has a good amount of comedy. I love the story. I think all the characters are good. I think, all the actors and actresses did a great job. So I actually really enjoyed this movie. Now, the movie is about, it takes place in New York City. It's about Will Smith's character, Alex Hitchin, who's also known as Hitch. He is a love doctor, or in the movie they call him the date doctor. They call him the date doctor because he helps open the eyes of, women so they can see the great guy that, that they might not see all the time. So he helps guys get the right woman that they want for them. I'd have the coffee. But he also doesn't advertise it. Like, it's, his business is referral only. So, like, if he helped me out, then, eventually I'll give, if I know somebody that's in need, then I'll give his card to that person. And then that's how he finds his clients. And, the movie is pretty much about, there's this guy played by Kevin James called Albert Britterman. He really likes this woman. Her name is Allegra Cole, played by Amber Valletta. He really likes this woman. She's like, really rich and famous and stuff like that. And the company that he worked for handles all her financial, business and all that stuff like that. And there also is another story too. Will Smith's character, Alex Hitch, falls for this, falls for this woman named Sarah Miles, played by Eva Mendes. Now, she works for a news company, like, newspaper, magazines, all that stuff like that follows around, get all the gossip on celebrities and all that stuff like that. Well, Sarah Miles is actually one of those women who says that she never has time for a relationship, and she's more focused on her work, focus on her work all the time. Like, she went on vacation and she came back 2 days earlier. Her boss tries to get her to leave, and he's like, you don't even work here for another 2 days. And also, one of her co-workers, is saying, like, apparently you went on vacation and then never left the office. And, like, she was like, you should have taken someone with you. And she's like, who I'm going to take with you? And, like, this is when a boyfriend comes in handy. And, like, I don't have time for a boyfriend. Like, you said that 2 years ago, and she pretty much said it's true now as it was true then. So, she's one of those women who says she's more focused on her career and that she doesn't need a man, she doesn't need anybody. So as I said, the story is about Hitch, about Albert Bergman hiring Hitch to help him with Allegra Cole. Now, the first thing that starts is how Albert gets her attention. She's going through all her money, her finances at the office, and she sees that she's like, I'm still, rich. And then she asks them if she can invest $500,000 in her friend's business. She really wants to do it. And, they disagree with it. The boss of the company tells her, like, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let us come up with a bunch of arrangements of stuff that you would be interested in. And next month, we'll run a whole lot of them by you. So he pretty much tells her no, like, we'll get stuff that you think that you would want to invest in. And then we'll go from there. So Albert stands up to the decision. Of course, he's nervous. He stands up to the decision and he says, "Excuse me, sir, I don't really agree with that." And he's like, "You don't agree with what?" He looks at her and says, "If you want to spend $500,000 on your friend's business, that's exactly what you should do." And then pretty much tells her, like, you don't need us to tell you what to do. Like, we're a board of advisors. Like, we're not your kindergarten teachers. It pretty much tells her that you should start taking, yourself more seriously as an adult instead of asking to spend your own money with a boardroom full of your daddy's golf buddies. So boss tells him to sit down, and he's like, "You know what? I quit." And everybody in the office is just shocked. He walks out the office, walks in the room. He's like, Hitch is in there waiting for him. He's like, just relax. He's like, I yelled at her, "I quit my job." What? He's like, "I didn't tell you to quit." So Albert tries to go back in the room, and they're all, them two is wrestling, trying to get him to stay, like, let it marinate and stuff. But eventually, Allegra does come to his office, knocks on the door, and says, like, people don't usually talk to like that. People never talk to me like that. But that's why she really appreciated what he did. So she asked him, can we get together, like, so I could go through financial stuff so she could find out where she could take risks with her money. He gets her number, and she's like, call me Allegra. Now, like I said, the other story with Sarah Miles. She has a best friend named Casey who she hangs out at this bar with. Well, Sarah Miles is at the bar, sitting by herself with a drink. And Hitch is sitting at the bar. He sees her. He's looking at her. The bartender sees him and explains to Hitch who she is. So as he's bringing over her a drink, a guy comes up and tries to hit on her, and as kind of the corniest pickup lines, he's like, "Yo, I seen that your drink was getting low, so I took the liberty of giving you another apple martini. And also, I can't help it, but like, you look a lot like my next girlfriend." And she's pretty much asking what his name is, and they call me Chip. So she pretty much rejects him, and he's not listening. He's like, "You have fantastic eyes." And then she's like, try to listen. So Hitch ends up getting involved, pretending to be her boyfriend just to get this guy to go away. So Will and Sarah Miles talk a little bit, get to know each other in a way without actually asking the question. So they talk a little bit. He eventually leaves, but then he also has one of the bartenders, one of the waitresses bring over the drink that she was drinking. And you could clearly tell that he left a good impression on her because she's speechless when he left. And, she's like watching him leave, and her best friend comes and actually picks up the drink that was for her. It's like, oh, was that for me? And she's like, what? And then she's like, so he kind of left Sarah speechless. And there's a character in there named Vance, who is a dog, who actually you find out in the beginning of the movie that Sarah Mila's best friend met him in a lingerie store, and pretty much he lied. He was there buying lingerie for another woman, but he was hitting on her at the same time. So it tells her not to go out on the date with, Vance. But we first see Vance meeting Hitch. He's like all like, you can't help when you meet somebody, and then tell me about it. Like, I was in, this place buying pajamas for my mom. He's like, oh, by that you mean lingerie for another woman. And then he starts talking as if he really wants to get to know this person. And then he's like, food lost his taste and stuff like that. He's like, I just don't is about her. I just can't get her out of my mind and all that stuff. He's like, I don't think things will actually step back from me unless I bang her. And it's just all like, excuse me? You don't bang her. Clear my head. Get in, get off, get out. So, Hitch is like, I think you have me, confused of what I do. It's like, no, I heard you help guys get in there. He's like, yeah, but the thing is, my clients actually like women. Hit it or quit it is not my thing. So he tries to leave, but Hitch tries to leave, and Vance grabs his arm, and Hitch pretty much slams him on the table, and he was like, I will literally, this is me saying, I will literally break your shit off if you ever touch me again. Okay, pumpkin? So Hitch and Sarah Miles goes out on the date. Things goes horrible, because what happened was Hitch had a walkie-talkie sent to her job, had to deliver to her job, and she picks it up, she takes it out, they start talking, everybody in the office is listening. They ended up setting up a date, and they go out on the date, and they go jet skiing, and he's taking her somewhere special without telling her. Well, things go horribly wrong. His jet ski breaks down in the water, so he has to get on hers, and he ends up kicking her in the head as he's getting on her jet ski. And they're on this island in New York, and this island has records of people that when they first came over to New York, and Sarah's grandfather is in that, signature is in that book. So Hitch thinks he's showing her something special, and she starts crying and stuff, but then she starts freaking out, and they're both like, the security guard who Hitch helped set up the private tour for them, they're both looking at each other like, and then she runs out, and then he's like, I saw that going different in my head. We'll find out that Sarah's grandfather was a murderer, and the headline, when Hitch was looking it up, it said the Butcher of Cadiz. He thought it was a profession and not a headline. So, day goes horrible. Hitch gets Albert and Allegra tickets to this fashion show to impress Allegra and her best friend, because Hitch says all women best friend have to sign off on new relationships. So they go to this fashion show, and one of the funniest parts, he's like, because because it's kind of jumping back and forth. It's showing us what's happening on the date, but then it's also showing us what Hitch is explaining to Albert about what to do on the date and what not to do. Well, get to the dancing part, and he's like, she's going to ask to dance, you really can't say no. So, he's like, oh, dancing, I'm not really worried about that. He's like, can you explain? So he puts on Usher's Yeah. And Albert starts breaking out the dance moves. He starts with start the fire. You start the fire. You make the pizza. The pizza always going. And then the Q-tip. Throw it away. Yeah? And he's like, that don't work. You hit him with this. Hitch stops it. It was like, don't you ever do that again. It's like, just expressing myself. No. So he's like, puts this all back on. He's like, this is you. Right here. That's all you need to do. This right here. You don't need no pizza. You got food there. So their date goes good. And then she's like, at the end she asks him, are you a Knicks fan? And he's like, well, they're good. So how we get to a point in the movie where the two stories starts mixing together, because I said Sarah Milas works for a company who, magazines up that follows celebrity gossip and all that stuff. And that fashion show that Allegra was going to be at, one of the photographers that worked with Sarah's company was there. And Sarah finds out, that she was there, and that, and find out her phone fell in the Hudson River. So that's why they couldn't get in touch with her that Allegra was there. Well, she goes to the place and was like, you're supposed to tell me when people like Allegra Cole's going to be there. It's like, I didn't even know that she was going to be there. And it was like, the tickets was bought by Hitch. So that's when she calls up Hitch as a possible source. But as she's calling him, to meet her somewhere, her boss is like, sounds like a date. It's like, it's not a date, it's a story. It's like, if it sounds like a date, and it is a date. So Hitch meets them at a food market. Sarah Milas, her boss, and her boss's wife is there. So he's telling Sarah to ask Hitch the questions. We need to find this out. She doesn't want to. She's like, no, telling him no. And then he pretty much starts talking about what is your what are your interest in Sarah. So then she finally decides to ask the question, ask him about, I met your friends Albert and Allegra, and then my friends who and who. He's undercover with this whole being a date doctor, so he can't really say what he actually does for work. So he's like, I met your friends Albert and Allegra, and he's like, but her boss is kind of awkward. She just says Allegra. You telling me she's the only Allegra in New York? He's like, Allegra Cole? Really? How do you know her? So, but I'm guessing it's because of the fact that they was in the newspaper is what I'm guessing. But he pretends that Albert is his tax, his accountant. How do you really know your accountant? So Hitch they end up getting a sample from the restaurant that they're at, and Hitch is actually allergic. His face starts swelling up. They go get him Benadryl, and his old talk, because he's like, is it itchy in here or is it just me? And he's like, the boss's wife is like, oh, I know what's going on, and he tries to say tries to give a take on it. He's nervous about, like, being there and all that stuff like that. And but she's like, no, I think you have food allergies. So that see that his ear is actually really swelled up. They're at the store looking for Benadryl. And he's like, come on, Sarah. Like, this is really not that serious. And he finally sees himself in the mirror. Face is swollen like he's like, oh, oh. His head shotgun. Never want to leave. So he's all fired up on Benadryl. So Sarah takes him back to her place. They have a little, like, a little sentiment moment. She wakes up the next day and she thinks that Hitch left. So she's mad at herself. She's all like, facing the pillow, screaming and all that. And then he just left to get breakfast, to say, thank you for looking out for him. Well, they leave to go their separate ways that same day. They kiss and all that. You can tell they're really feeling each other. So she meets up with her friend Casey, who you find out still went out on that date with Vance Munson. And what happened? He hit it, he quitted, and as he was leaving, he says, date doctor my ass. So both of them start thinking that the date doctor helped him sleep with her and then run out on her. And that started getting to parts where, like, I can't stand that in movies when people jump to conclusion, and even in TV shows. But like I said, I guess sometimes it can't be a story if it doesn't happen. But I just hate when people don't ask questions and just jump to conclusion. Well, Sarah goes to see Vance and asks, like, what's the date doctor's contact information? If you want me to keep your name out this story, out this paper. So gives her the card, and they set up. They also are keep an eye on Allegra and Albert. They look happy together and stuff like that, and they set up a date with Hitch for to take pictures and stuff to get the story. And Sarah sees Hitch, and she automatically jumps to conclusion that he's a bad person who helped this a-hole sleep with my best friend, and then that's it. So they have a date. Sarah's all acting snarly and all that stuff like that, and finally reveals, like, I know exactly what you do, and I think it's disgusting. And then he's all confused, like, what are you talking about? So they have a little back and forth argument. He's like, maybe we need to go out to eat. She's like, yeah, there's a great seafood restaurant I'd love to take you to. Like, oh, why don't you get a cleaver, butcher? So they have a little thing. She ends up leaving. Sarah goes to a speed dating thing with her friend Casey, and Hitch shows up. They have a little discussion, as you say, but they end up running the story about Allegra Cole and Albert and the date doctor situation. So everybody knows they're starting to find out about Hitch. Like, everybody's finding out about Hitch. Like, people in the street is like, who he helped before, their wife or girlfriend's coming up, like, do you know this man? Like, has you seen him before? And he's just like, I have never seen this man before in my life. And then he says, I'll see you later. I think it's Tom. Was it Tom? I can't remember, but coming out about Hitch, discovering his business and stuff. So at the speed dating thing, he starts saying, like, I like you, and, like, stuff like that. And somebody in there is like, don't I know you from somewhere? Like, maybe I seen you at the bank. And then Sarah had mentioned something about Hitch hooking somebody up with somebody, and he's like, that's it, you're the date doctor. And then Casey's all like, you're the date doctor? And It's like, is there a problem over here? He was like, yeah, a big one. What the hell did I ever do to you? And he's like, he's all confused, like, what is going on here? And Sarah's like, why don't you hit a titty bar with your buddy Vance? And he's like, oh, I don't believe this. That's your source? Like, you buried yourself, Alex. He's like, then you weren't listening. I heard everything. You're a scam artist. You trick women into getting out of their own way so great guys like Albert Bitterman have a fighting chance. So Hitch pretty much tells her, like, you know, Vance Munson is a pig and I refuse to work with him. It's guys like him that I even have a job. Had a job. So he leaves and Sarah's like, you know, you can tell like she's a little hurt, but then she tries to play it off to her friend like he believed that guy. And her friend's like, actually, I do. So he pretends that Sarah shows up a few days later to apologize. He pretends like, you know, whatever, like you didn't hurt me, like, you know, let's just go our separate ways. And also the whole thing coming out about Albert and Allegra, they also are having their problems. Albert wants Hitch to help get her back, but he refuses. He's like, you know, let's just move on. Let's just go out and stuff and like forget all about all that. And Albert doesn't want to. So he's pretty much saying like, you know, you're selling this crap, but you don't even believe in your own work. And he's like, love is my life. He's like, no, love is your job. So then he goes to find Allegra, and Hitch also goes to Allegra to explain everything what he does with his job. I try to help Albert get her back. So he's like, you know, my job is not to interfere, it's to help create opportunities. And then she's like, you know, you looked me up, you know, you got all that research on me. And then he's like, you know, would you have noticed him if I didn't do what I did? And she's like, eventually, like maybe. So then she started explaining, like, you know, you did your research on me. And then she starts going down stuff that Albert did during their dates. And then he's looking like what? She's like, that was all you, right? No. Hell no. So he pretty much sees that everything Albert did was him. He was himself, and Allegra saw that, and she liked it. And he was like, you know, that worked for you. And he was like, yeah. So then he's like, what did you do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So Albert, they hug. Albert shows up and he's like, oh, is that what you want to do? It's like to run off with my girl. He's like, he's like, like, you was like a brother to me. He's like, Albert, he came here for you. Who? The guy gets choking. So them two make up. Hitch runs across town to talk to Sarah to try to get her back. He doesn't know what to say because usually, like, he's never doing that. He's the one on the opposite side of the door, like, you know, telling everybody what to do. So he starts putting down his feelings for her, and there's a guy in there with her. So you think that, you know, the guy that's in there is a new guy and stuff. Them two leave. Hitch runs after him and trying to explain, like, you know, I'm like, I want to be with you. Like, I really, really want to be with you. So she's not listening. She tries to still run away. They jump in the car. He jumps on top of the car and ends up falling off when she hits the brake. So he starts, you know, explaining his feelings more. You know, you come to find out that the guy was never actually with Sarah. It was Sarah's sister's husband. So he admits that he loves her, and they kiss. Very happy ending. Then the next scene, we're at Albert and Allegra's wedding. Everybody's dancing and having fun. Sarah's friend Casey is sitting by herself, and an older woman comes up and is like, "Where's your date?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't have one." So she eats the old lady eats a berry. I think it was a berry or a plum or something. She starts choking. Casey saves her, and does the Heimlich on her. She saves her, and her grandson comes up and it's like, "Grandma, are you okay?" It's like, "This young lady just saved my life." So then they look at each other and like, "I'm Casey," and he says his name, and he's like, "Why don't you ask her to dance?" And then like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, just go." So they walk off the dance. She picks up her glasses and she looks, and Hitch is looking back at her. They wink at each other. So you see Hitch ends up, they set up, so Casey could get somebody in the end. I thought that was actually a really good part of the story. Yeah, they dance to Now That We Found Love by Heavy D, and really good moment. Movie goes off. I freaking love this movie, and ooh, I went over 30 minutes. But yeah, there's a lot of great funny moments in this movie. It has the right amount of, like I said, comedy, romance, story. Everything's good. One of my top favorite Will Smith movies. Now, what would I give this movie for rating? I would give this a 9. Yeah. Excuse me. I would give this, that stuck up on me. I give this a 9. Definitely give this movie a 9. Love it. One of my favorite Will Smith movies, so I definitely would give this a 9 out of 10. So anything else I want to cover? I think that's about it. If you haven't seen this movie, Hitch, definitely check it out. If you have seen it and you love it, tell me why you love it in the comments. If you don't like this movie, tell me why you don't like it in the comments. Like I said, I'm always down to talk to people about, what their opinion is on movies and stuff like that. I'm going to have some more reviews. I already have what my next review in mind. So that'll be coming soon. Like I said, the last 2 reviews I did, I'll leave links for those in this description. So definitely check those out. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more movie reviews coming. So I hope everybody, if you're watching this at night, enjoy your night. If you're watching this during the day, enjoy your day, and I'll be back to you guys soon. Peace.